actually want to give some clarity on what we mean by generational patterns, because a lot of people this is probably the first time they ever heard about that. And I think that some confusion would be lifted if we say that generational patterns in today's society is known also as generational curses.
Yes.
However, I say patterns because I feel like curse has like a omens or like a stigma of like, I'm stuck in it. Like I will never, this is just on
like
me.
this was cast
Like,
upon me,
this was cast
upon my
me.
family
Exactly.
through
And
the
I can't-
generations, and I have no part in it.
Right. I have no part in it. It's just my nature. That's just me. And so I said patterns because patterns can be broken and it can be formed.
Yeah.
So that's why I say generational patterns. So I'm going to read the definition that I wrote down in my notes, and you add anything that you feel like I'm missing out on. Okay. So generational patterns are ways of thinking, reacting, and relating that get passed down without being questioned or addressed.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Or I feel like and again, this is me giving a more real world definition of it. If it is addressed, that is what is ostracized. Right. That is what is silenced.
Yeah. I feel like that actually ties into this question of like, why do people struggle? Why do people realize they're repeating patterns? Basically, do people realize that what they're doing is bad? And I feel like because it's ostracized when you deviate, then they don't really question, this is bad. Like, this is a pattern that needs to be broken.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And honestly, we was watching Judge Judy the other day, and I don't know if you paid attention to this, but it was a mother and daughter defendant. And the mother was so blatantly, so awfully lying. It was actually so embarrassing. It was cringeworthy, just how much the mother was lying. And the daughter did see, and the daughter was a full adult, like in her 30s, and the mother was much older. And so the daughter seemed more sensible. And so when it was time for the daughter to give her testimony, I thought she was going to come in, try to say, look, basically try to turn them away from like, my mama, sorry. But she didn't. She dug her heels in and she continued it. And the looks on their faces, I kid you not, they really felt like they were doing no wrong, even though the plaintiff and Judge Judy was basically reading off and even showing them on the evidence screen the evidence that completely contradicted. And it was multiple evidence. It was like a pile of evidence that was contradicting everything they said. But they seemed so firm and assured in their lies. And I said, that's a behavior. Of course, why did I expect anything different from the daughter? Because the way the mother was lying, you meet a type of person where they lying and you just know this has been you. This is ingrained in your DNA.
Yeah.
And it was kind of one of those types of things. So
Exodus, I want to go back to Exodus. So, because I feel like, why we discussed how they're passed down, but I feel like we need to talk about why they're formed in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, where do dysfunctions, how are they started? And I feel like Exodus, the Lord tells us how, as he usually does. And it boils down to the fact that you have turned away from God.
Yeah.
That's the simple thing. You have deviated from God's original design. And so now it started this habit that has basically is distorting the image of God and how he made the world, how he made us, how he made us to think and relate to each other and relate to him. And so question for you is that, have you seen one generation affect the next?
I feel like, yeah.
Based off the decision, like based off somebody just turning away from God, or like, because actually in the Bible we see Israel for a long stretch they're in relationship with God, like worshiping him, doing everything, following the commandments, and then it takes that one person, usually the king. The king decides to partake in idolatry, or as what Solomon did. He broke many laws that the Lord gave the king specifically. that kind of had a ripple effect within his family, but also with the people of Israel. And then they started to do idolatry. Yeah. So that's basically what I'm asking. I'm basically like, have you seen that in real time today? Yeah,
I feel like not only do we see that even in society as a large, right? When you think about family systems, obviously your core family is the people, you know, who birth you, who raised you. That's your core. But then we're kind of still responsible to each other, even in a society.
Yeah.
And so as you then see these ripples effects, to me, relationship with God really forms the basis of our morals and our values, right? What do we think is important and why, and what order, you know, do we rank these importance? And so when you have somebody that is lacking relationship with God, then what's building their morals,
right?
The things that they believe in, the things that they feel is important. And so I feel like, yeah, that's a question that is just like smacking everybody in the face. Heck yeah, we see all of the evidence of one generation, their decisions, the way that they're building their life. We see it definitely directly affect the next generation.
No, I was actually watching a podcast by Pastor Snell. And some of you probably don't know who that is. Some of you probably do. But he was actually talking about generation, like the generations, like the boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Gen Z. In that order, by the way. It's not out of order. That's how the generations came. And he was discussing how like the boomers were the silent generation.
Yeah.
Meaning they didn't talk about things, like everything was swept under the rug. And so that passed on to Generation X. And then Generation X, I feel like, is the people who raised Generation Z.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So people, actually, that's another thing. That's a whole different topic about how some of these old people in the generation are like complaining about Gen Z, but don't realize like you raised us.
And no, that you.
So I mean,
you hit on a heavy thing. Again, there was another series financially. You know, I'm always seeking financial, like looking at financial literacy things. And there was a guy who, you know, obviously was some type of financial expert. You know, what does that mean nowadays? I don't know. But he made a good point. He was a boomer himself. Mm-hmm. And he actually talked about, he was giving stats and statistics. And he said that the boomer generation, the generation right after them, he said, what you see over history is that each generation kind of, and he was talking financially, right? About creativity and advancement financially. And he said each generation over history you saw getting slightly better. Some would get even better, but there was always a increase. And he said actually after that boomer generation, the generation right after them is actually the first generation to show a decline.
Oh.
And it's actually been declining ever since. And that's kind of hard to see because you would think, you look at all the advancements in society and you kind of just assume that we are continuing to increase and advance, but not on a family level.
Right.
Not on a generational, like family level financially.
Yeah.
And so he said that the boomer generation, so he was actually being very critical of his own generation and how they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Even in the category of finance.
Yeah. It's just amazing to see the way that the Lord just like intertwines and interwoven, I hope I'm saying it right, things. Like you see how like decisions you make within your family kind of have a ripple effect of decisions as a society, as a whole.
In your community,
because
absolutely.
Like one thing makes a group and then that group makes a mega group. And that's just kind of how it is. So like that just really highlights the importance of what we read in Exodus, Deuteronomy, and
the current moral dilemma, because make no doubt about it, we're dealing with a moral crisis in our society.
Right.
The rampant crime, you see it all the time. It's really a hot topic. Everybody's always talking about, even here in our own region, in our own community, you know, talking about the crime rates and just how out of control the youth seems. Mm-hmm. But somebody raised them.
Right.
You know,
we're all a part of the problem. Basically, that's what is. It's not just one thing. It's not just the youth. It's like you got to look beyond that and just realize like, oh, what part did I play in this? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we all need to have, every generation need to reflect on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But that brings me to like, I feel like we need to talk about, we could say, oh yeah, you turned away from God, but what does that look practically? And so I started to like, I feel like for my personal experience, anytime I feel like I've turned away from God, it's always like a small thing that I'm just neglecting to do that he told me to do. Like, for example, actually, this is perfect. Recently, we both, me and you were having a discussion, and we both expressed like our lack of discipline over the past couple weeks. And discipline as it pertains to what the Lord told us to do personally. Yeah. Like for me, I can only speak for myself. The Lord told me that I need to start coming to work at 8:00. So in my contract that I signed with my job, my hours are 8 to 5. And so for a long time, but my job is pretty lenient on that. Like a lot of people come in maybe an hour past 8, 9 o'clock, even close to 10:30. And it's fine. Like that's the culture at work. And I started to pick up that culture. As I think the latest I've come into work is 10:30. But the Lord was like really getting on me on that. Like, okay, it might be okay for them, but I told you to come at 8. Yeah. So that's what you need to do. I'm still struggling to come in at 8:00 on the dot, but I'm slowly getting there. I've started to come in way earlier, waking up earlier. And that's another discipline that he gave me, is that he told me that you need to start waking up at 4. Well, if I wake up at 4, I'll be able to get into work at 8:00. Yeah. And it just all aligns. But I've been struggling to do that. And I feel like, I mean, most people probably say that, like, that's not turning away from God. What are you talking about? Like, you still reading your word. You still, I mean, we doing this podcast. We're reading scripture. How is that turning away from God? But you see the ripple effect. Mm-hmm.
It's the small compromises. It's what you may just think is small and you compromise on today, as you said, begin to have this ripple effect, begin to have this domino effect where it's, or I should say ripple is much better, because ripples start very small, but then they spread out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that's exactly, what began to happen when you have these little small compromises that are contradicting where the Spirit of the Lord may be trying to lead you.
Right.
So for me, I actually want to go back and, talking about family and household and family dynamics. For me, I can give another example. And actually, we talked about this, and it's something that we can laugh about now. But one thing that I feel like used to be confusing for my kids is when I would personally turn away from God, right? Turning away from God and just really just allowing myself to wallow and develop in missing the mark, right? Sin is just missing the mark, like not doing things, according to what is right, not right by man, but right by God. And so as I would do that in my household when you all were young, again, just these small compromises. And I'll never forget, like, you begin to see your kids, there's no order. Order begins to chaos is slowly introduced into the lack of order. And I believe God really, my relationship with God really not only kept me grounded, but it helped me to keep order. It helped me to keep peace. It helped me to keep harmony, unity, all these things within my household. But the minute that I would let my relationship fall by the wayside, again, you saw this ripple effect even within my household, even with y'all being kids. So then keeping the house messy.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm distracted. Like when you're missing the mark and you're sinful, you allow everything that is of no consequence to consume your life. And so then I would see the house getting messier. And once that that messes with your mind.
Yeah.
And then me being the head of my household, okay, now I can't even keep the house in order, kids running rampant. And more importantly, what's funny, the things that you all will watch.
Oh, yeah.
You all had this freedom. When I was out of order, my kids got out of order. And they would have this freedom in the things that they would watch. And, we already know, if you don't know by now, letting your kids watch certain things can definitely lead to some consequences that really can affect a lot of different things. So my kids would be just watching stuff that I normally wouldn't let them watch, on TV. And so then when I would, thank you, Lord, because the Lord is faithful. And when, the Spirit of the Lord would speak to me about, like, if I was really troubled about the disorder in my house that was now spilling into my job, affecting me on my job, all these types of things. And then when the Holy Spirit would help me to see my ways and where I went off, I would have this very extreme response and coming like wiping out everything. And so my kids I would be like,
that. Listen, me and Aaron is my brother, by the way. Me and Aaron, we are Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, Disney XD. That was our 3 shows. I still remember the channels, 32, 52, 53. Okay? We were watching Wizards of Waverly Place, and I remember when she came in and saw us watching that, and she was like, "Turn it off." And I'm like, "What is you talking about, ma'am?" And then she was like, "That is witchcraft."
Baby, because look, they was doing, I think even at the time, they was doing spells and
incantation.
And then you and Aaron was very model-y kids. Like what y'all would be watching, y'all would literally be sitting there in the living room, then imitating it.
Yeah.
And so as the Lord was dealing with me, and as I, got my eyes off my kids and off my household, it just was alarming for me to come in and not only like hearing them, chanting and doing these spells on television, but there my kids was. There my kids was with their little fake wands. You remember that?
Yes.
Like they had their little fake wands, and they just like,
If by wands you mean like color pencils.
Yeah, they had made their little, little fake wands, and other people, somebody may be watching this and be like, "Oh, come on now, that's innocent," but it's not, y'all. Not according to what the Lord has taught me.
Yes, this is the things that we need to. I'm glad we talking about this, because this is the thing that happens in our society. Culture reinforces things that we don't address.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So people will have their response because culturally, like, it's okay I'm watching Disney Channel. It's made for kids, right?
Correct.
It's on TV. All the kids are watching it, right? It's innocent. But no, if we compare that to the word of the Lord is very clear on people who cast spells, people who do incantations, people who worship the crystals, who do all this new age. We call it new age now. It's the term is new age stuff, but that's not what it was called. We call it new age, but it's not really new.
Correct.
I never understood.
It really isn't.
I never really understood us calling it new age when like this was back in Israelite times.
So you redefine. So that's what I said, right? You redefine the definitions of things to make it more acceptable.
Exactly.
So you're redefining what it really is.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening.
But that's just one thing. But in the terms of family, there's like certain dysfunctions that you just don't question that, is really you turning away from God. Mm-hmm. One of the things being, for example, it could be like how you handle conflict within your family. Like maybe you're the avoidant. Yeah. I went straight to that because I feel like I have a little bit of that in me. Like I avoid conflict, so I avoid I avoid conversations, and it kind of builds up within me. So then you do something that triggers me. I'm using the word trigger because that's the term that people use nowadays, but I actually don't like that term, trigger. But you would do something.
I'm triggered right now by your
that will remind me of like past similar situations that I actually do have a problem with, but I've just never expressed to you that I have a problem with.
Yeah.
And then I will snap at you and then basically be disrespectful.
Yeah, and then also it just like, and 0 to 100, right? So you and I definitely would be caught off guard, like whoa.
Yeah.
And then I'm the opposite too.
Right.
So I want to address, baby, the minute I see an issue, we are addressing it in its fullness with depth. We have to then analyze it, break it down, and we have to reach a solution all within this one setting.
Yeah.
And that is kind of how I am, and it definitely causes us to clash,
right,
and conflict. But I think it's because, and not saying that one way is right or another. I think in a perfect world we would have a balance of it. But to me, that kind of shows, to be honest with you, it is because of the patterns in my family and me seeing the consequences of things going unaddressed.
Right.
I freak out.
Yes.
I freak out when I see evidence of it kind of developing within my own household. I have a fit.
Actually, I got something to say about that, but we'll talk about that later in the episode, because I feel like that is a perfect example of how a relationship within a family is supposed to look. But I did want to touch on something really quickly. So we talked about culture and how culture, like, they make up definitions, make up words so that things that really are turning away from God can be accepted within culture, and then it could be, and that's how it ripples through generations, is that it kind of goes unnoticed, unrecognized. So I just wanted to go over some, like, I want people to really be able to connect with their own situation. So what are some things that you think are excused by culture today that really is not, it doesn't really align with scripture, period? You know?
Ooh, this is a good one. And you got me.
I got to answer. I can start off with.
Please start off.
So this one thing I feel like we're going to this culture where, like, everything is self. Like, this self. I mean, I'm not against self-care. Like, you need self-care, but I think people take it to the extreme. Yeah. I feel like it's more of a prideful thing. Like, you are wanting this in despite what it does to others. Mm-hmm. And that's the territory I feel like we're going into. Everything is self. Like, I need to protect my peace. I need to protect my. So
you know one that makes me uncomfortable. Actually, it literally makes me cringe when I see people, and I don't care who you are. I think I even saw Michelle Obama use this terminology too. I don't care who you are. It makes me cringe. It's when they say, "If it don't serve me."
Oh yeah,
it's not serving me. Oh, that makes me so. What do you mean?
That is used a lot.
Like, if it's not serving me, then do this. If it's not serving me, then off with his head, or away with you.
And that is the total opposite of what Jesus says in the Bible. He said, "I did not come to be served. I came to serve."
Exactly. Absolutely. No, it makes me so uncomfortable, and it's so accepted that's why I think we're hearing it more and more. Yeah. And I just think, again, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, what are we really even knowing what these things actually mean when we say it?
Right.
But no, I like that you said that self, that's gonna be a whole nother.
Oh, that's a whole nother series.
Mm-hmm,
oh, that's a series that's another series that the Lord put on our hearts to do. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
when he gives us to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
That's going to be a very good
But I like what you said. There's a fine line. You said, of course, self-care, that's actually kind of the journey that I am on now. Right. I've been so sacrificial, and for so long, I call it a savior complex. You had such a savior complex that I'm trying to unlearn, certain behaviors. And really focus on, self-care. But there's a fine line, and you have to be careful between self-care and selfishness.
Yes.
There's a very fine line between that. And I think people are just bouncing back and forth over the line, and they're not even realizing it.
Which is the MO for humans. Mm-hmm. We don't know balance. And I feel like the Lord making Sabbath a holy day back in Genesis, and again in Exodus, and again in Deuteronomy, and all throughout the scriptures, I think is the Lord's way of saying, like, hey, you want balance in life? I decide when it's too much or too little.
Yeah.
So he worked for 6, rested on 7. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's a whole nother sermon.
Yeah. Yeah. Something else that is being, again, why do I keep going back to fighting? I'm just gonna let the Lord lead me, because who knows who's gonna be watching this. Something that I feel like happens in society that has become something that's acceptable, but really I feel like it's negligence, it's irresponsibility. That's this whole spend culture and trips and cocktails and brunches and and y'all broke. No, seriously. I hate to say it, like, girls trips and no, like, we laughing, but this is dead serious. Like, me, I just be so confused by stuff, and when stuff confuses me, I have to get that investigator, that detective. Right. I have to get to the bottom of it. Like, what is happening here? And so it's that, and I feel like that is so acceptable in society to be a wasteful spender.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. And then somebody may say, well, April, what's the harm in that? It's causing a lot of harm.
It's causing harm.
It's causing a lot of harm.
It's causing harm in families. Yes.
It's causing a whole lot of harm. It's causing a lot of self-inflicted harm.
Yeah.
You know, it's causing a lot of harm within households. It is spilling over, you know, into other things, causing other areas to suffer, other people to suffer, you know, because of it, all because somebody can't. And the reason why it's so easy is because it's so accepted in society. It almost feels like it's an obligation now.
Yeah.
To go on trips. I mean, that's what I feel like. It's almost like the way people look at you, if you say that you haven't been on a vacation in a while.
Oh, yeah.
The way that they treat you, like, what's wrong with you?
Yes.
Well, what you mean, what's wrong with me? The price of milk.
Not the price of milk.
That's what's wrong with me. The price of eggs. As a matter of fact, everybody trying to say they lactose intolerant. No, it ain't. We can't afford the milk.
We can't afford the milk. We can't afford the egg. So I'm just going to be lactose intolerant.
Exactly. Gluten. I'm allergic to gluten. And it's in everything. But that's my excuse for why my refrigerator is empty.
That's a good point. But I mean, I feel like we just talking about all doom and gloom.
Okay. Yeah.
So in Exodus as well, God he gives you the basically the condition, right? He gives you like, this is what it is. This is what you did wrong. This is what it's doing to you currently. But the one thing I love about the Lord is he always gives you a solution.
Yeah.
And he always gives you hope. He always gives you peace. Because I feel like that's like in that moment, he's like, okay, let's remember who I am. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So remember.
Sorry, I can't help
who
it.
You are.
I can't help it.
So God does leave us with some hope at the end of Exodus, and he's basically saying that like my faithfulness extends past dysfunction. Because remember in Exodus, I'm gonna go back to that verse at the end there. He says that, but he shows faithful love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commands. And so we talked about how there's a personal responsibility within yourself, within your family, to either perpetuate what you've seen after the Lord has corrected you on it, or to keep it going. And so I feel like that's what that hope is. Like if we talked about turning away from God is what starts it. Turning to God is what ends it.
Yeah.
And so why do you think it is a struggle for people to break free, knowing that the simple solution is just to turn back to the Lord?
Because it don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like it at first. It doesn't. You just said simple solution. It, for some reason, it doesn't feel simple.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we won't admit that some things do feel good. The pleasures, some of the bad decisions we make sometimes can bring pleasure, fulfillment, satisfaction at first. The problem is that that's never lasting. And then usually the problem is that pleasure, that satisfaction usually is instantly followed with poor consequences, right?
Right.
And so, and I think we just can't see past that.
Yeah.
We can't see past that very quick, short-lived pleasure or satisfaction in it. So it just was, you're like, no, I don't want to.
You know what? Actually, no. You speaking on that, like, we don't think. You just say we don't think it's that simple. We don't think. We don't trust. Mm-hmm. That's what popped in my head when you said that. We don't trust that the Lord is faithful.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like. I feel like that's the root. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not. Listen.
Like, yeah.
No, actually, I got quiet because I'm sitting here like feeling like you talking to me. Definitely have trust issues for sure.
Yes. Yeah. But that's what's popped in my head. Like, that's basically the Lord is saying. Basically, he's saying that I am faithful to the generations who follow my commandments. And if we believe that the yoke is easy, as Jesus says, then that should be a simple, fix. Like, okay, I'm going to stop doing this and follow your ways. Mm-hmm. But we see that this is really a struggle for people.
Yeah.
To break free from patterns. And I feel like it's just because we don't trust the story. We don't trust what the Lord is telling us.
Yeah. And then some of us don't, it becomes so ingrained in us. It's really hard to see or imagine living differently.
Yeah.
And what that looks like. And sometimes in most cases, depending on what it is, you almost have to strip yourself
completely bare
everything that you know.
Oh yeah. It's a hard journey. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking in like it's simple, like, oh, I'm just gonna stop this. Like, no, it takes work. And like Jesus exemplified that while he was on earth, that it does take work and it's sacrificial. I mean, hello, he gave his life.
Yeah.
And he didn't even want to in the beginning. So like he was literally stripped bare. We talk about stripped bare. He was literally stripped bare.
Yeah.
And beaten, whipped, scourged. I think I'm saying the right. I don't know if I'm saying the word right, but it's a deeper. The word used when they talked about Jesus being beaten as he was carrying the cross. It's deeper than just a whipping. Like we think about whip and we think, how they portray it in movies. Like no, like his muscles were ripped like ribbons off his body. Like this is deep whipping.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bloodshed. Like
hit me with that question again, because I really
I asked basically, why do you feel like it's so hard for people to break out of the pattern when they know what they need to do to break that pattern?
Yeah.
Basically.